The following presentation is brought to you by the Pride of ODU, the official NIL collective of Old Dominion Athletics. Be a monarchist. Join the Pride. Monarch Nation, to get us prepped for the Oyster Bowl and the final home game of the 2024 season against Marshall, we reached out to our friends at the ThunderCast to help educate us a bit on the herd. So our buddy Russ said yes, and he's here to talk about everything Marshall football. Welcome to the show, Russ. How are things in Huntington?
Mike, thanks for having me. Things are looking great when you're on a winning streak. Winning solves everything. So right now things are going well.
All right. So usually I'm going to ask about the coach, the identity, all that. But before we get to that, I need to ask, is A.J. Turner going to play?
I don't know for sure. I'm going to assume no. And I have not heard anything. I have not listened to any press conference from the coach. There's no news that I'm aware of. So it's not like I'm intentionally holding anything back. I'm just under the assumption right now that he will not play.
All right. Well, ThunderCast is a fantastic Marshall podcast. You guys and JMU Sound Off are the most similar to us around the Sun Belt, I think. But could you talk to us about your background, your connection to the herd, and how you and KD got started?
Yeah, absolutely. KD had a podcast for about 6.5 years, and it was Marshall versus WKU, a rivalry podcast, and it was called Moonshine Throwdown, and that was decently successful. And He found that he was pretty good at what he did. And all of a sudden, we're moving to the Sun Belt, and that rivalry is going to go away. So he reached out to me. We were college roommates, roommates after college, known each other now for 27 plus years. And he said, "Hey, I want to pick your brain about where we should take this because that podcast is going to go away." And I didn't realize that he was recruiting me. And we always joke. He would say, "Hey, do you want to be on this podcast?" And my response that I joke is, "What's a podcast?" Because I actually recorded our first show with him before I had ever watched or listened to a podcast in my life. I didn't really have any apps to listen to them, didn't know where to go. I was just totally unfamiliar with it. But some of the things that we were talking about was it needs to not be a rivalry podcast. It needs to focus only on Marshall University athletics. It needs to be more than just football. So it needs to be all sports. And I said, we need to incorporate tailgating because that is an important part of, this whole thing for me. So it's turned into a really good endeavor, and it's been fun, man. It's been a lot like what you guys are doing. You guys kill it. You mentioned JMU Sound Off. They kill it. It's just fun interacting with you guys as well as covering the team. I like watching what you guys do, they do, and it feels great. And then you go to an away game in the Sun Belt, and you get treated like, "Hey, let's roll out for you guys. It's roll out the blue carpet." I went down to Southern Miss. They rolled out the black and gold carpet. It was I wouldn't have that just as a regular fan. So it's been so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, and we're excited to host you this Saturday in the Blue Lot. So, Coach Huff is one of the most interesting coaches in the Sun Belt right now.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is because of the herd program and your high expectations. But the guy is in year 4. He's managed bowl appearances each season, including this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's named some massive victories, most notably at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
But this offseason, he made changes at both coordinator positions, which, if you're a college football fan, that is kind of like a death knell for most coaches.
Mm-hmm.
But it's managed to work out. But I'd like to go back to like August, entering this season. What was the general consensus around Coach Huff and his tenure at Marshall?
Man, he has been like a lightning rod for fans, and I feel like it's unwarranted. The expectations sometimes amongst our fan base is really, really high to borderline ignorant. You can't expect to go 10-2 in today's climate every single year. But we kind of got when we first moved back up to what is now known as FBS, we got used to doing that. We had 13-0, 11-1. All these different records that we were year in year out hitting, and we kind of got spoiled. So uh, the knock on Coach Huff was that we have not been in a conference championship game in his first 3 years. So going into August, everyone was saying in his contract year, this is his last year of the contract, if we don't win or appear in a conference championship game, we should get rid of him. And that's harsh, man, because it is so hard to do in the Sun Belt. And a lot of people nationally were saying around 5-7, 6-6, and here after 10 games, we're 10-3 with a loss at Virginia Tech and a loss at Ohio State. So I'm a big Coach Huff fan. At the ThunderCast, my co-host is as well. We like not only how he does the portal, navigating the portal, he recruits well, but he brings in men of character. You never hear of anyone getting in trouble in his program. They're very active in the community. The players absolutely love him. It just, the success has not been there on the field like we would like to have those consistent 9-3 regular seasons or things like that. Last year we went 6-7 with a loss in a bowl game, and going into August, that was kind of the deal. Is you've got the air raid that you're starting out with a brand new system. You're 1 year into a new defensive coordinator, so um, basically it was Sunbelt Conference Championship or bust in a lot of people's fans' eyes. But at the same time, they're saying, I don't think that we'll do better than 5-7. So I think he has quieted a lot of that, and we're fans. For lack of to sum all this up, we're just big fans of his.
Oh, that's great. I I was going to ask, has you already answered it, but I was going to ask, how have they changed how they're viewing him and what he needs to do this season after this 5-1 start?
A lot, but you'll understand this as well as anybody. That one loss carries so much more weight to them than the 5 victories. You could win 100-0 and lose that Georgia Southern game when you're up 23-3 in the fourth quarter, and they come back and win 24-3, and then you don't control your own destiny, and we're looking at coming into this game 6-0, but you've got that one glaring loss. A lot of people still have not forgiven him for that. I think he hasn't forgiven himself for that either. He's taken that personally, but it's a mixed bag. But a lot of them have said, "Yeah, hey, I'm eating my words. He's a great coach." You see it on Twitter all day, every day. Coach Huff, I'm going to eat my words here. I've been tough on you, but you've done great this year. You see a lot of that, so I'm glad to see that. I always like to see positivity from the fans to back the players and the coaches and everything instead of calling for someone's head.
All right. So earlier this week, we had our preview of the game, and I'd highlighted some defensive players that have been
Mm-hmm.
just playing out of their minds this year. Mike Green was number one,
Mm-hmm.
but J.J. Roberts and Josh Moten aren't far behind. But having said that, what is the position group you are most confident in for the herd?
That defensive line anchored by Mike Green. We can play 10 to 12 guys on the defensive line alone, and you don't have much fall off. That was one of the things that the coaches tried to tell the fans. this offseason, right before the first game, is you're not going to see a big gap between team one and team two at these positions. But the deepest, in my opinion, is that defensive line. If you double team Mike Green, which you should be doing, even with a double team, he's still getting the stats that he's doing, but it just opens up guys on the other end and across the line. You've got Taquez Legs, you've got Chris Thomas, you've got DV Harris, you've got Jabari Ishmael. I could just keep going and keep going and keep going. And if you double team somebody, that leaves them open. They have consistently allowed us to pressure quarterbacks and alter game plans.
So that pressure, are you guys mixing in a lot of blitzing there, or is the D line so good that you don't really need to blitz?
D line's so good that you do not need to blitz. You're not going to see a lot of cornerback blitzes or safety blitzes, and the linebackers don't blitz a lot. We are in a 4-2-5 nickel a lot of the times, and we get so much pressure from that front four that allows everyone to stay back in coverage. We have had problems this year with good running backs and running teams running the ball against us. Sometimes we'll give up a lot of yards throughout the game. It's more of a bend but don't break, but a lot of yards. And against the pass rush, though, nobody has been able to do much against Mike Green and the Wild Bunch, as I call them. But for those of you listening that don't know who I'm talking about here with Mike Green, he has shot up the draft boards a lot. A lot of people are now projecting him first round or second round. Reese's Senior Bowl has highlighted him this year as their watch list in the preseason. He's a redshirt sophomore, and that doesn't happen a lot for the Senior Bowl to say, "Hey, this is a guy on our radar preseason as a redshirt sophomore." He leads the nation in sacks. He leads the nation in sack yardage. He leads the nation in tackle for loss yardage, and amongst defensive linemen, he's first in tackles. So he's just absolutely killing it. And they are. He's got 15 sacks on the year, 126 yards, tackles or sacks yardage. And then I think it's 17 and a half or 19 and a half on the tackles for loss. I mean, it's 19 and a half. He's just killing it.
Yeah, and I'll add, he's got, I think, 29 hurries. So
Yeah.
he's having an impact even when he's not getting to the quarterback. And on top of that, he is Old Dominion linebacker E.J. Green's younger brother. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe they're the only brothers connection we have in this game, but it's
Yeah.
always cool when that happens. EJ is a fan favorite because of his energy. He's been kind of slowed down the last year and a half because of injuries, but we love EJ. All right. Last week, Marshall hosted Coastal Carolina for Marshall's Senior Day. You guys won 31-19. What was your biggest takeaway from win number 7 for the Herd?
Slight correction, it was not Senior Day because it was the 75 week. So
Okay.
we had Senior Day the week before, and we never want to do that on the same game. And the way the schedule worked out, this was our final home game. So we actually did Senior Week the previous home game. But the 75 week is the biggest home game for us every year, and honoring the 75 that perished in that 1970 plane crash. And it is tough to win in Joan C. Edwards Stadium, but it's even tougher to win in Joan C. Edwards Stadium during that game. It just seems like every year something happens. And in this one, it was that blocked field goal for a touchdown by J.J. Roberts' block, and Jacoby Henderson takes it to the house that just swung the momentum in our favor, and we never looked back. That put us at 6-0 at the Joan this year, and could not be happier because every game being must win in the Sun Belt East right now to possibly get to that Sun Belt championship game. 6-0 at home, 5-1 in the Sun Belt. That big win on 75 week, it was a perfect week for us.
Well, congratulations. All right. Now we talked about the position group you're most confident in. Now we got to do the opposite side of that spectrum. What is the position group that is your biggest weakness?
Right now, I would say if AJ Turner is out, it would have to be the running backs. And before that was a major, major plus. And we still have competent running backs behind him. But when you are leading the nation at 9.2 yards per rush before he goes down, that's a huge blow. He changes so much because, last week with him being out the entire game, we ended up rushing for 67 yards, I think it was. And then we had, uh, on the final tally, we had a snap over the punter's head, and that gave us negative 32 rushing yards. So it looks even worse. Looks like 35 yards on 32 carries. So without him in, are we going to be able to step up and run the ball well enough against ODU to not be one dimensional? So that's my very big worry in this game amongst any position group.
Yeah, we highlighted him as a player to watch out for. We did not realize he was injured at the time when we talked.
Mhm.
So that's a big oversight on our part. And we know it's going to be a big factor in this game because one of our strengths defensively is stopping the run. And
Mhm.
you take out a big talent like that, it makes it even harder. So, is there one facet you want to see from the herd in this game?
Yeah, I would like to see us get to Colton Joseph, not just with sacks, but disrupt him with pass deflections, QB hurries, and force him to make mistakes. He has been excellent since taking over the reins. I think in 6 starts, he has accumulated 19 touchdowns through the air and on the ground. So it's been a great spark for you guys. And I really want to see us disrupt him. And then we don't have to sack him, but if we force him to maybe make throws on the run or not be able to hit his primary target and have to go through his progressions. I like our chances to be able to do that if we can create havoc.
All right. Um, this is going to be the second to last question. Do you have a prediction for this game? And if so, what is it?
I do. Um, I'm going with a close game. I'm going with a relatively high scoring game, 34-27 Marshall. Hopefully that doesn't come down to the final minutes that we have to win this game. No disrespect to Old Dominion, you guys have a very good club this year, and I look for this to be a tight game to where we trade some touchdowns and the momentum goes back and forth, but Marshall's able to squeak away with a 7-point victory.
Well, I'm happy you said one score game because that's kind of what we do at Old Dominion for the last two seasons. Win or lose, it's one score.
Yeah.
All right. So, final question. We know you're making the trip to Norfolk,
Mhm.
but do you have any questions for yourself and your fellow herd fans making the trip to ODU to root on Marshall?
Man, I have wanted to come there for so long, and I never could do it. And this year, this will actually be game number 10 for me, and I'll hit 11 out of the 12 regular season games. And the only game that I'm going to miss is that Georgia Southern loss that we talked about earlier. Schedule just would not work out. But I think the biggest question that I would have is what do you do during the day? Because we're going to get late Friday arrival. It's about a 7.5 hour trip for us. What do you do during the day that you suggest that we do before that tailgate starts? Because this kickoff's not going to be till 7:30, and I'm assuming we're going to start tailgating around that 2:30 to 3:30 mark, somewhere around there. So what should Marshall fans do if they're watching this uh, in the morning? If they're driving up Friday night, what do you suggest?
Well, if you're here Friday night and you're in downtown Norfolk area and you only have a couple hours to do anything, Chrysler Museum is free to attend and it's a beautiful museum. Um, you have Nauticus, which is like it's great to bring kids to, but they also have there is the Wisconsin battleship.
Hmm.
You get to tour that, which is pretty cool. And then downtown, there's a MacArthur Museum for General MacArthur, which is a nice way to spend like an hour. And you can kind of wrap up all of those in like a couple hours, because you could hit the Chrysler Museum, check that out for like 45 minutes to an hour. Walk through Freemason. Is a beautiful neighborhood with cobblestone streets to Nauticus in the Wisconsin. And on the way there, you're going to pass through the pagoda. It's a beautiful little area. And then you're downtown at this point. And you can check out Nauticus in the Wisconsin. And then you can walk across downtown to the MacArthur Museum and spend some time there. If you could do all that, that makes for a nice day. Food-wise, great restaurants in Ghent, downtown, and just off campus on North Colley. And 3:30 is our tailgate start time.
Okay.
There's going to be free parking in both of the garages that flank the basketball arena.
Okay.
And if you walk from there to Kaufman Mall, there's a bunch of tailgates set up there. That's where the Shriners are going to be having their big oyster roast. And that's where I'm assuming the Marshall Alumni Association will be set up. The ODU Alumni Association is set up there. There's usually a free music, usually a band playing there, big TVs with other games on. And then there's a big open bar that you can go and get food and drinks from. So it's a pretty festive atmosphere. And on top of that, the tailgates, our fans are pretty welcoming. So it doesn't matter which lot you walk into. If you just introduce yourselves, you're probably going to be welcomed into that tailgate.
That's what I love about the Sun Belt. I feel like we've got some welcoming fan bases that, especially the four of us that went in together, we kind of feel like, hey, we're brothers and cousins or whatever, in this conference realignment where we came here. And I'm telling you, man, like I said earlier, being a part of a podcast, I'm nobody. I'm just a fan, but I'm recognizable to like you guys. I'm recognizable to other people at Southern Miss and stuff that have this, and JMU and Coastal, and the list goes on, App State. But everywhere I've gone, it's been, hey, welcome, thanks for coming, and that's what we do at Huntington. We have people coming every game that say, I have never had such hospitality as you guys have here, not just at my tailgate, but everywhere. And that's what I love about this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some ODU fans down there. If anybody's watching this and they see me walking by, feel free to give me cases of beer, moonshine, bourbon, all the food that you can handle. I'll take it all.
I'll add this. The best lot to go to as a fan that has no home is going to be the black and silver lot, which is right next to the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of businesses are there, but like our brewery partner, Afterglow Brewing, is there. They pour free beer the entire tailgate.
I'm all about that.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's some ODU fans that don't even realize that. Make sure you stop by Afterglow's tent, say hi to Josh, the owner, and his family, and his coworkers and staff. So, Russ, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're looking forward to this one. Oyster Bowl is always fun, no matter what. There is a parade usually. I don't know if there's one for this year, but the Shriners usually like to host a parade. So great for the kids. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. Hope you have a safe trip. And go Monarchs.
Thank you for having me on the show. And yes, go Monarchs and go Monarchus. You guys are kicking a lot of tail, and we love to see what you guys are doing.
Appreciate that. See you Saturday.